Alright, so this is part 2. This is the question and answer for diabetes and hypoglycemia. So one question I got was, name the top 5 supplements for controlling blood sugar, diabetes, hypoglycemia. Cataplex B from Standard Process. I got a video on that called King of All Supplements. Diaplex from Standard Process. I got a video on that. I forgot the title of it. Something about a supplement to consider for diabetes. Cataplex G is related to B, and I mentioned this in the same video as that. And that's kind of it really for supplements. Now there's herbs like gymnema, and we have many really, but I rarely use them, and I certainly use them less now than I have before, because I understand the diet so much better. So what really is the best thing for diabetes is get the fat up and the sugar down. So I wrote down Ketodamia Good Fat Bar, because I'm a fan, because it's my recipe. I made it with my company right here, and it's sweet. It's sweetened with monk fruit, and the brown is cocoa powder, which is awesome. Yeah. And the base is still cacao butter, just like the others. And then the last thing that's in it is macadamia meal. So it's got crunch, and it's got smooth, and it's got sweet. And sometimes you can taste a little bit of the bitter of the cacao butter, because it's not, I don't think it's super sweet. But anyways, we just released this a few weeks ago. It's already probably our best seller. I mean, it's selling really, really well. And I had shown you earlier that ratio right here, 2 to 1, right? This Ketodamia bar is 6.5 to 1. So it's very, very ketogenic. It's more ketogenic than macadamia nuts, which are 4 to 1. And there's avocados could be 2 to 1 or 3 to 1. Okay. So there you go. There's my little plug. The website is goodfat.bar. And then I wrote Fat Bombs. So this is something you could Google. It's basically coconut oil sweetened with non-carbohydrate sweeteners, flavored with essential oils or other natural flavorings. And there's different themes to different fat bombs, but you eat them and they taste really good. They're like dessert, but super nutritious and very ketogenic. And they melt, they can melt at room temperature because they're coconut oil. So you want to keep them in the fridge or the freezer. Okay, these good fat bars, since they're cacao butter, they start to melt at 94 degrees. So these are easier to walk around with than the other ones. Okay, another question I got was how to get into ketosis. Here's how you do it. You go low carb, and then you increase the fats, and you decrease the protein. But when you use the app called Chronometer, you just put your foods in there, what you're eating right now, and then you use Chronometer to tell you what are your grams of fat, protein, and carbs. And if your fat's at 50, here's fat, and then your protein plus carbs is, let's say the protein's at 75 and the carbs are at 150. Okay, so that brings you to 225. And your goal is, 4.2 to 1 ratio. That's the standard American diet right there. Very high here and too low here. So then you just start making different choices. Raise the fat up, you can raise it up to 100 and raise these down to 50. Fats at 5. Okay? And people ask me all the time, what do I eat? It's a really tough question to answer, because I'll say something and you'll say, oh, I don't like it. I can't do your diet. So I quit answering that question. You got to figure it out. You got to put some brain power into it, and you got to feel your way through it. That's one of my favorite quotes from the father of endocrinology, 1932. As like any diet, you have to feel your way through it. Okay, some people don't like coconut oil, or they don't like MCT oil. So find your own oil that you like. Okay, does that answer your question on how to get into ketosis? That's the majority of the work. There's more to it, and that's fasting. Fasting is actually quite helpful to get into ketosis. Because if you just did what I told you to do, chances are you get very close into ketosis. You might actually get into ketosis. But what I find is that you gotta take the extra step and, skip a meal a day. Or just do a 24-hour fast. And usually that's all it takes, and then everybody's in ketosis. Alright, but the more you get into it, and out of it, and into it and out of it, the easier it is for your body to adapt. Adaptation is key. That's the term, is adaptation. Just like your electric car goes from gas to electric, and you don't even notice it. You want your cells to go from fat to sugar and not even noticing it. But at the beginning, your cells are fighting you. They don't like you. It's like training a puppy. You're trying to drag the puppy, across the room, and they're fighting you. Your body is the puppy. And the more you do it, the more your body gets used to it. I just love that analogy.
It's a good one.
Your body is a puppy. Okay. So it takes several tools, and that's the 2-to-1 ratio, and then intermittent fasting. And you can throw in some burst training, or HIIT, also known as high intensity interval training. Okay. You can do what's called block fasting. That's a full day or maybe 4 days. Okay, but to be honest, if you're not interested in doing any of these 3, you can just do this and still get into ketosis. Right? For a lot of people.
What is the HI?
High intensity interval training. So you go really fast and then you rest. And then you go really fast and then you rest. Like a sprint, like a 60-second sprint. Okay. And you can do that on a bicycle. You can do it on a trampoline. Okay, the third question I got was, no, that was it. But I want to share what Otto Warburg said about, what Henry Harrower said about how to fix the body back in the 30s. The first thing he said to do was fix and treat lactic acidosis. So I'll just put LA like this. The second thing to do, this is what he said. You treat the organs, or the endocrine organs, that are presenting the clinical picture. So if you have a hypothyroid condition, then you treat that. So then treat the organs that are presenting the symptoms. And then the third thing to do, the last thing he said, is fix the metabolism. Now in 1932, how many people were getting into ketosis? A lot. A lot of people, and they didn't know it. Nobody knew it. And imagine then too, though, that's the Great Depression. So there's people eating very little. There was no money to buy food. And they were thin. And so they're getting into ketosis. Right? So fixing the metabolism is what we just talked about. So now, with this viewpoint, this is brilliant. This is just, so I've been at this 20 years, and now I have a better handle on fixing people's bodies than ever before. So sometimes I'll find myself fixing an organ, and then I treat the lactic acidosis. Because they just have a little bit of lactic acidosis. But they may have like a big iodine deficiency, therefore, harming the thyroid. So we fix the thyroid first, and then we fix this up. But a lot of times when people are sick, they have all these symptoms that, you get all these different diagnoses, but the truth is it's lactic acidosis. So I fix this up, put them on Cataplex B or G to fix this up. They come back feeling better, their energy's better, their brain's working better. I got them, their sugar down, their fat's coming up. We're fixing lactic acidosis. Then we can address the organs. Now the organs get better. So last week I was in Australia for a seminar, and there's 12 other doctors, and one of the doctors, this is through MediHerb, and one of the doctors said 25% of my practice is hypothyroidism. And I said, hypothyroidism is driven by lactic acidosis. And a few people laughed, a few of the other doctors, because they don't know. And I was like, I let them know that they don't know, right? So if you're constantly treating the thyroid, or the liver, or the brain, and you're missing this, you're missing it. You're missing it in a big way. Okay? So you get the organs working well, including the stomach and the pancreas and the intestines and all these digestive organs, including the parotid and the pituitary. Then, and you got the diet down. Now it's easier to get the metabolism going. Okay, so weight loss that's a good thing, and it's one symptom going away. Weight loss is not everything. And in my career, I've had people say, I need to lose weight because then my arthritis will go away. Not a true statement. Because you might have organ dysfunction, and you could be losing weight, but your liver's not working good. See what I'm saying? So weight loss is just another symptom. Okay. Alright, is there another question?
So you're matching the organs that are failing with another organ supplement?
Yeah, we're matching an organ that's not doing very well with a supplement. And chances are that supplement has the organ in it. Okay, now it's not that smart just to give the liver only liver, because they're all connected with each other. So that's why oftentimes, most of the time, these products will have liver and spleen together, or pituitary, hypothalamus, adrenal together. So pluriglandular, again, 1932, Henry Harrower. Pluriglandular. Yes.
I'm trying to, in my mind, put together this picture of how everything interrelates. And I think something that belongs here somewhere are food addictions. Can you speak to that?
Yeah, food addictions. Actually, any
I mean, there are a lot of things we get addicted to. I mean, sugar, of course, most of us know about if you're health conscious, but there are so many additives and so forth, and
food addiction is here.
It's a real problem for us.
It's this.
Okay.
This is food addiction. And this was known in the 20s and 30s too. So, yeah.
Can you explain that more?
Yeah, so niacin used to be called niacinamide. That was the vitamin B3, niacinamide. And then in the 1940s, the industry changed the name of it to niacin to be more consumer friendly. And here's the problem. So people who ate white bread ended up smoking more cigarettes. Okay, now back then, white bread was very deficient, it still is, but it was more deficient in nutrients. Okay, very deficient in nutrients. But they did add B1 and B2 and B3. Okay, so people thought, oh look, he's eating white bread and smoking more. It must be the niacinamide causing him to smoke more. Okay, so that's why they changed the name to niacin. Okay, so having said that, we're talking about food allergies. The food that those people were eating was causing lactic acidosis. The white bread with hardly any nutrients was causing this because they're burning excessive carbohydrates. Then this would happen, then the muscle cells die, and they get a tight feeling here called anxiety. These muscles tighten up, or maybe right here. And they feel bad, they're like, oh my God, I'm gonna have a heart attack, give me a cigarette. And then the cigarette relieves the pain here, right? And so they're smoking more and more cigarettes. So it's still true today. And so not only is it cigarettes, but it's also Prozac and Wellbutrin and Lexapro and the anti-anxiety drugs. They're all treating the symptoms of lactic acidosis. At the same time, they're harming the liver. So it's making it even worse. So the drugs treat the symptom of anxiety, but it's also making it worse. Now, food allergies it could be like, let's say, fungus in the peanuts, or it could be red dye in the junk food. So it's a bunch of chemicals or mold or toxins, insecticides, liver. So the liver becomes dysfunctional.
Right.
This isn't happening, then you get a buildup over here, and then you get the symptom. Okay? Does that answer your question? That's food allergies.
I think it just means I'm more curious about different things.
Yeah. Well, this is the way to explain.
I mean, I don't know if my next question is even fitting with what you just said or not, but like I know I think a lot of us become addicted to sugar, I'm well aware that I am, whether or not I'm eating things that, I mean, I crave it. But what is the connection between being addicted to sugar and how the brain functions? Because I swear the brain is driven at times
Right.
by your addiction. Can you talk to me about
Yeah.
how that fits into this whole
So
thing?
how is sugar affecting the brain
Yeah.
and sugar addiction?
There are times when it's like I'm on autopilot. I'm not even conscious. I just like dive into something and eat it much sometime
Right, so-
later. And I've been curious because
It's the
like
same
I'm out of
mechanism.
control.
So the sugar is creating toxicity. The
Mhm.
toxicity is creating inflammation, and it's happening in the brain.
Okay.
Right? So now the brain is freaking out, and it's going through these ups and downs of sugar metabolism, just like a hypoglycemic or a diabetic. And so when the sugar goes down in the brain's, you know, saying, hey, go get some sugar, right? And then you get the lack of clarity of thought, and the short-term memory starting to go, because the brain cells themselves are dying from lactic acidosis, just like the muscle cells would die, you know, here in the heart. Okay, but when brain cells die, they don't tighten up like muscles do. They just make you feel really bad. You go crashing down into depression, and you get these diagnoses like bipolar, anxiety, and all that stuff. So I was at a seminar a few months ago, and I've heard this before, but the guy on stage said Alzheimer's is diabetes of the brain. Okay, but the point is, sugar does the same thing to all the organs in the whole body. You can really feel it pronounced in your brain because that's where the emotions are. You know, and the clarity of thought and vision and all that stuff. Okay, so you still got to apply the same things to the brain as you do the whole body. So I talked to a guy on the phone yesterday. Last time I talked to him was 7 months ago. And he did what I told him to do for 3 months. He lost weight, his chest pain was better, his blood sugar was better, and then he quit. He just quit all that stuff. He kind of lost it, his lifestyle, right? And he got back on the phone with me yesterday and he said, can you help me? What supplements will help me? Will your diet help me? And I said, look, it already helped you. You just have to do it again. You just have to get back into it again, you know? But the point here is that his vision got better for the 3 months that he did what I told him to do. So yesterday he's asking me, I need something for glaucoma and cataracts. And I was like, I don't want to give you any eye pills because your diet is so off. And he goes, well, I'll promise to do the diet perfectly. Give me something. So I gave him a few eye supplements. Okay.
What'd you give him?
Bilberry. I mean, it doesn't matter.
Well, I'm curious. I have a friend who's got macular degeneration.
Okay,
and
well, the
she's
point
not
here is that,
degenerated.
look, the point is the diet. Diet.
Okay.
Okay? So the work to get healthy is 80% diet for most people, 90% diet for most people. Now, there's a lot of people that have had a really good low-carb diet, and they've increased their fat, and they've been doing that for 10 or 20 years, but their brain and their another organ is like totally tanked because of their job stress, they're flying on airplanes a lot, you know, that kind of stuff. But for most people, it's mostly diet. Okay. Yeah, Ted.
What's your good fat bar cost?
The good fat bar is $3.19. So this is raw organic cacao butter from Peru. Cacao butter is food of the
Does
gods.
it have a name?
Yeah, ketodamia. It's like ketosis and macadamia. Isn't that the best name ever?
Yeah.
It is the best name ever. I came up with that too. So, and monk fruit is fruit of the gods. It's a fruit, and it's also called Buddha fruit. I'm sorry, not fruit of the gods, fruit of the immortals. Yeah, and then also known as Buddha fruit. So this is a very religious bar.
Where is monk fruit from?
China. Okay. All right. Thanks for watching.